Greetings for everyone and welcome to today's session on impact of COVID-19 to MSME sector of Sri Lanka. My name is Badraja Pamudu. I would like to introduce today's speakers, Mr. Padmasiri Gunawardena, Dr. Premasiri Gamage, Mr. Monty Nanagam. Today we have three segments first by our speakers and finally a discussion round where you can shoot up your questions. You also can forward your question through our chat box, which appear on right side on your screen. And finally, I would like to request you all to mute your microphones and switch off the cameras during the presentations of this session. Thank you. Without any further ado, I cordially invite Dr. Amson Sibanda for opening remarks. Sibanda?
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Emson Sibanda, and I'm the Chief of the National Strategies and Capacity Development Branch in the Division for Sustainable Development Goals at the Department of Economic and Social Affairs at the United Nations. And I'm very pleased to join you at this webinar on impacts of the COVID-19 on the micro, small, and medium enterprise sector in Sri Lanka. This webinar touches upon an important topic as the novel COVID-19 pandemic has evolved into both a health and an economic crisis for developing countries, including Sri Lanka. I'm very pleased that the Division for Sustainable Development Goals is co-hosting this webinar together with the recently established Ministry of Small and Medium Business and Enterprise Development and the Ministry of Industries and Supply Chain Management. I am delighted to note that the secretaries of both ministries are with us today. We very much look forward to hearing from Mr. Monty Ranatunga, Secretary of the Ministry of Small and Medium Business and Enterprise Development, and Mr. J.A. Ranmith, Secretary of the Ministry of Industries and Supply Chain Management today. We are very pleased to see the level of commitment of both ministries, and we hope to continue a strong partnership with both ministries. Micro, small, and medium enterprises are important economic engines of developing countries. They contribute to economic growth, poverty eradication, and generate employment and livelihood opportunities, especially for women, youth, migrants, and other vulnerable groups. Unfortunately, MSMEs are bearing the brunt of the economic slowdown inflicted by the COVID-19 outbreak. In this context, the report on impacts of the COVID-19 on the MSME sector in Sri Lanka, produced by Mr. Padmasiri Gunawardena, the national consultant with whom we have worked, has proved to be a useful and timely knowledge product. The report provides useful information on the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on MSMEs. It also provides an overview of policy measures the government of Sri Lanka has launched to support MSMEs during the immediate emergency response to the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition, the report shares interesting examples of how MSME entrepreneurs in Sri Lanka have taken the initiative to improve business continuity and quick recoveries from the economic crisis caused by the pandemic. Through the project of enhancing national capacity for unleashing potentials of MSMEs in achieving SDGs in developing countries, funded by the United Nations Peace and Development Fund, the UN Division for Sustainable Development Goals has worked closely with the government of Sri Lanka on optimizing the institutional structure for enhancing MSME resilience to external shocks, including the COVID-19 pandemic. Ladies and gentlemen, at the time when the world is moving from the emergency response to the recovery phase to the COVID-19 pandemic, your deliberations today will help highlight specific challenges faced by MSMEs in Sri Lanka. If past economic shocks are any guide, the effects of the COVID-19 crisis may linger, constraining global trade and tourism, hampering remittance flows, and bringing uncertainties in foreign direct investment and domestic credit in longer terms. Therefore, it is critical to ensure sustained policy support would be tailor-made and target specific needs of MSMEs if we are to ensure a job-rich recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. I hope today's discussions will contribute to identifying gaps, challenges, and opportunities in policy responses supporting MSMEs, particularly those protecting MSMEs, jobs, and incomes in Sri Lanka. All recovery programs should remain firmly anchored in the 2030 Agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals. Thank you very much for your attention, and I look forward to fruitful deliberations.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amsansibanda. Our next speaker is Mr. Padmasiri Gunawardena. Mr. Padmasiri Gunawardena was the National Consultant, Sri Lanka UN Division of Sustainable Development Goals, supporting the Ministry of Industry and Commerce in the implementation of SME Action Plan. He has been working in his capacity since 2019 May to 2020 May. Prior to this, he was worked as a consultant, covering a wide range of fields, and has been involved with MSME sector, traveling widely in Sri Lanka, meeting MSMEs in rural areas through consultancy assignment undertaken by him. Mr. Gunawardena was also the technical consultant to Ministry of Textile Industry Development from 2007 to 2009. He is the Chartered Textile Technologist, has held the position of Director CEO of the Textile Training and Service Center and the Clothing Industry Training Institute from 2000 to 2006, the main public sector training institute in the country, serving the textile and apparel sector prior to his retirement. Mr. Gunawardena was the consultant engaged by the Ministry of Industry and Commerce in preparation of SME Action Plan and Build Back Better guidelines for disaster recovery for MSMEs in Sri Lanka. Yes, Mr. Gunawardena, it's over to you.
Thank you very much. Greetings to everybody. Well, today my presentation is based on a report that I have prepared on the impact of COVID on the SME sector in Sri Lanka. Well, to start with my presentation, I would first like to get you through the socio-economic indicators at a glance in Sri Lanka. As you know, Sri Lanka is an island with an area of 65,610 square kilometers, population 21.67 million, estimated GDP in 2009 is $84 billion, per capita has gone up to $3,852, and we have a very good literacy rate of 91.7% and life expectancy at birth at 76.8. So this will just, I don't want to spend much time, but just to give you an overview of the economic situation. When you look at the contribution, the sector-wise, the services are predominant and represent 63%, industry 29%, and agriculture 8%, and the others, of course, the balance like 0.2%, which is not indicated properly in this chart. Then if you look at the GDP growth, you can see, we cannot be happy because it has been in a decline. And in 2019, we were very much affected with the terrorist attack that took place in 2019, Easter Sunday, on the hotels and the churches. Now the next slide will show you the imports and exports. You can see the imports are higher, and this will indicate the gap. Although we have declined, we find that in the final stage we have the gap has been reduced. So this is one way that we would like to see that our imports are improved. With this slide, I would like to highlight the distribution of establishments in the non-agricultural sector, and this is based on the census that has been carried out by the Department of Census and Statistics. And in that one, you will find that 92% of the enterprises belongs to micro in this country, and then 7% small, and large is almost 0.2% is the total representation. Geographical distribution, find that rural, again, SME is more distributed among the rural, these on the SME, urban is 25%, and we have the plantation sector where that goes to about 1%. And this will just give you an overview of the MSME sector in Sri Lanka. Well, of course, our employment, our employable population is 8.3 million, which are not given it here, and the employed people are 8.1 million, of which 2.25 million belongs to the MSME sector, according to the survey carried out by the Census and Statistics. Unfortunately, we don't have the up-to-date information more than that, but we could estimate now at present it could be around 3 million or a little over 3 million. But without any substantive evidence, I can make an estimate. But if you look at the distribution of employment by the main sector, 47% is employed in agriculture, 25% in agriculture, 47% in the services, and 28% in the agriculture. In the recent years, our services sector has been increasing rapidly. It includes all the services and also the IT services, which also has contributed a lot to this one. Then if you look at the distribution scale wise, the non-agricultural sector, we find the micros represent 44%, right? And small, well, it's closed. Medium level 13%, and the large sector 25%. That is how the labor or the employment has been distributed among the different sectors. Now let me go to the other area. I hope that today I've given you just an overview of the country and what's happening and the distribution of the employees. Now I would like to move into the next area. The main topic of the discussion today, the impact of the COVID on the MSME subsector in Sri Lanka. Well, here I would like to sort of highlight, I'm taking the subsectors, the importance of the subsector and the impact on the of the COVID. If you take the tourist industry, the income has been 4.38 billion, which accounts for 4.9% of the GDP, and there are 2,164 hotels, large star class and star class hotels, 136, and there are so many small hotels, boutiques, and various things. Of course, the MSME employment here is 219,000 as per the SRIDA analysis. That is Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority. Well, if you look at the impact due to COVID threat, well, of course, in February, drop in arrivals by 70%. Then about April and March, I don't think I'll have to talk about it as almost the zero level because the airport was closed down for tourists in March. No social functions, no corporate events, and no local tourists. The most entities are closed. Layoffs are inevitable. MSME are the most affected. We take about 6 months to revive even after normality is achieved. Because the reason being, and also there are quite a large number of MSMEs linked to the value chain of the tourism. Handicrafts, boutiques, textiles, you name so many, everything, then the service providers, and so on, and also small scale tour guides and operations. So I think I'd like to move to the next one. Then the next one is the most important thing as sector for us as far as the exports are concerned. 2019 we had done well with 5.3 billion and with a 6% contribution to the GDP. Direct employment is estimated around 300,000, of which the SME sector of the export industry or the factories claim that there are about 100,000 of them are within the SME sector. And I would estimate that there are about 600,000 altogether, including, because there's a very large number who are in this industry, catering to the local market. In Sri Lanka, you see, in the suburbs, there is a place called Pangunuwa, in which is a hive of activity where you find thousands of people coming early morning and taking fabrics, returning, and is catering to the domestic market. So what has happened, the impact is, for the medium scale exporters, the orders are cancelled, payment not received for the supplies. I had discussions with the association. This is what they told me, that they have stocks and they are really saddled with thing, and they are finding it difficult because to manage to pay the staff. Local market, April is the main season in Sri Lanka, because everybody in Sri Lanka, I think, if I say, is wearing a new clothes. Irrespective, even the poorest of the poor will be wearing a new dress for the new year, and lot of change. Household items, pots, various things are being sold. So a lot of people target the April New Year, especially the make their profits. But what has happened is they lost that. Now they are totally covered with piled up stocks. They can't get the money for the things that they have supplied to the shops. And with these, in the SME factories, layoffs are inevitable because they are unable to meet the thing. Of course, some have gone into making the masks using this opportunity. The large scale factories have got some orders and they are just trying to manage the factories with those things. Then if I go to the next one, leather and footwear. Leather and footwear, average annual production is estimated around 550 million. And we have an export of an employment as far as is concerned, 40,000. And it is said that about 3,000 MSMEs are involved in this, because there are a lot of people who are producing this on small scale at domestic level, slippers, mainly the slippers, sandals, and of the typical Sri Lankan wear. Their exports are affected, and same thing like the textiles due to New Year season. The same thing I could talk of the handloom industry. It is estimated that about 10,000 weavers are in operation, and I don't have to repeat the same thing. It is the same story with the like the leather and footwear. Processed food. This is an interesting area. According to EDB capability report, there are 110 manufacturing and marketing companies, and export value close to US $400 million in 2016. There are no recent details. Large number of estimated, and they estimate around 2 million people are involved in this the country, because this is done on a domestic scale. There are many women who are engaged in preparation of packaged food, bottle, spices, and this has become a very common business everywhere at domestic level. The exports are affected, local market. Then again, these items are also the same story for the New Year season. They totally lost their market, which they have produced or anticipating, because in the month of January, February, they stretch their full capacity and produce anticipating the April sale. That is what happened and what they have done, and they in total trouble. Rubber and plastic. If you look at, there are finished products, Then plastic industry, there are about 400 companies, exports and cater to local market. Machinery, mechanical appliances, export to US 400 million. And same as the above, the same process, problem. Electrical and electronic equipment, these provide an essential service in the manufacturing sector. Repair services, since the activities have come to a halt due to curfew and lockdowns and all that, so they will have to wait for some time to gain business. Services accounts for 57% of the total according to 2009, and there's a large number involved in the ICT BPM. Contribution is around 15% to GDP. Workforce estimated as in that area 124,873 according to the statistics in 218. So the issue is same as the other one due to the COVID, due to economic activities coming to a halt, they've also affected, and also especially the work has come to a halt in foreign countries for the BPO. Well, of course, I would like to now present the major issues. As you know, like all this common to almost all the countries, the main things are supply chain breakdowns, working capital, marketing, layoffs, and loss of livelihood opportunities, and the psychological trauma. Now, in order to meet these issues, the government has given relief packages. I would like to put it in a very short, summarized way. It goes under 4 headings. One is concessions on performing loans. Well, the government has granted debt moratorium extending from 3 to 6 months on performing loans. There are details which I cannot, with this time I don't want to spend just to explain the basic. Yeah. Then extension of OD facilities, temporary overdraft on concessionary rate of 13%. Then for the non-performing loans, waiver of the penal rates, interest rates, rescheduling of loans and advances, suspension of recovery actions and legal actions. New working capital, the government has granted, facilitated a working capital or investment limit to 25 million from banks per person, per individual enterprise, and 10 million for the financial institutions at 4% interest rates for a 2-year period, and the central bank, central bank, will subsidize the special interest cost. Then the financial institute may obtain collateral, mitigate the risk under this financial facility, and this has become a problem, which I will come back to you in the next slide. Samurdhi Social Welfare Scheme. Samurdhi is a scheme that has been there in this country, which is providing relief to people who deserves, not really below the poverty level, but who are unable to manage their day-to-day living. And then those who are involved in the Samurdhi, a grant of rupees 5,000 per beneficiary for the affected months were given by the government for the 2 months. I think they don't know whether they might continue for the next year. And also a special loan of rupees 10,000 for the MSMEs to work for the to use as the working capital was also granted under this. Well, of course, with that background, I would like to come out with my observations. The MSMEs are the most vulnerable, affected by natural disasters in 2016 and 17, where we had floods, landslides. They were severely affected. On top of that, when they were recovering, came the Easter Sunday terrorist attack in 2019 April. And they were in the recovering stage when the COVID-19 threat came. So you can understand the pressure that they are in. Losing the target sales in April and May, festival season is a major blow to the MSMEs because in Sri Lanka, April New Year, then after that in May comes DESA, and then comes the Ramadan. So that is one of the major issues that created problems to the MSMEs because they lost the market. Then most entrepreneurs have not been able to reap the benefit of the government relief packages due to lack of awareness and or inability to meet the requirement of the bank. So when we go to the field, we find that some of them are not aware, they don't know how to get it, and also sometimes the requirements, the rules and regulations the banks let them be, so they cannot meet. They are in a real situation, and they always explain that entrepreneurs are fighting a lone battle to get out of the financial crisis, and they don't depend much on these banks, loans and other things. Usually what happens is basically the organized sector and those who can maintain, they have all the documents and they can go and obtain the loan from the bank. But the MSMEs who are not maintained proper documents and also not aware, and they don't have the staff to handle these things, will not be able to, obtain some of these benefits. It's noteworthy, but our field experience in which we have been, interviewing some of the people online, they find with all these problems, they are quite in a positive mind, and they have the expectation that they can return to normal. So it is our duty to support them. I mean, give them the necessary support, they will come. Very few have, gone down. Then the agro-based industries, localized MSMEs, have shown a good resilience to the impact. This is something where earlier we were talking of going global, but now COVID has turned the entire thing the other way to be local. So unfortunately, our agriculture sector was not affected and was very strong. So products based on agro-based, the supply chains were not really disturbed. There was a disturbance. And also, what I mean is localized. In village areas, there are people who get the material, raw material from the vicinity, and sell it to the town in the market. And even during the curfew period, the businesses are going on because they are catering to important food items and spices. So they were not much affected. They have shown, although they were affected, they have shown a good resilience to the impact. Then also the enterprises who have established backward linkages, and also I would like to say, I'd like to include forward also, has been able to cushion the impact to some extent because they have the strength. But with all these things, however, there are many who need coaching, counseling to get out of the traumatic situation. I think we need to guide them. Some have created new opportunities, diversified product range, and it was amazing what some have come out, the thinking and the abilities, creative abilities these small entrepreneurs have. Online marketing, those who are doing online marketing, home-based online marketing has improved significantly. And they were able to, because they were able to supply during the curfew times, and also their market has been established, and even the curfew has been released, they are in a good position. Well, that is my observations, and I would like to make some recommendations. My recommendation is basically appoint a task force or a coordinating body without delay for concerted effort to assist the MSME to revive the businesses. The government has appointed a task force and sectorial, but I think it should be strengthened, should be focused directly at the rural, at the grassroots level to meet their requirement. There are a lot of things to identify. Identify gaps and draw up strategies. Coordinate to avoid duplication. Optimization of resources of the BDS. Develop a mechanism to provide one-to-one coaching and guiding sessions. Focus to generate working capital. Revive supply chain. Business continuity plan. These things have to be introduced, because one thing that we would like to address is that there are a lot of duplication in the services that we provide. Right. Then we'll have to ensure that the government packages, disbursement of, right, government relief packages for micro enterprises are strictly disbursed. Then also to develop a system to guide the MSME to raise the working capital on viability basis. Yeah, disbursement of relief packages should be apolitical, transparent to gain the trust of the MSMEs, because this is an important thing where the government will have to, take action. Simplify the application procedure for special bank loans, extend the ultimatums, because most of the MSMEs that we have met have not been able to get reach these bank loans. Then MSMEs should be guided by public, private service providers, chambers on obtain the benefit. I think it's their duty, because they don't have all these, they don't have accountants, they don't keep, all accounts. Sometimes they don't even the informal sector sometimes don't maintain any books. But anyway, we can't ignore them also. They are also important. And also the formal MSMEs also should be guided, because they lack that experience. I think it's very important that these service providers and chambers will help them. Then the other thing is the gender sensitive policies. Of course, Sri Lanka, we have a very good gender equality, but sometimes when we were told, I'm just saying, when we were told by the leader, when the females go to the bank, because most of the entrepreneurs are females, when they go to the bank basically sometimes reluctant to give, and they sometimes ask them to come with their husbands, or they prefer to give it to a man. Let me tell you in a simple way. Right. Then the next thing is assist to commercialize the innovations that have emerged during the period. Yeah, there are a lot of innovations. There were a lot of adaptations that were displayed. I think we saw it in the TV, and also people have done, and some can get patent rights or whatever it is. I think the government should help them. The organizations like IDB can assist them to sort of commercialize those innovations or adaptations. Then these relief packages should be apolitical, transparent to gain trust of the MSMEs, because most of them have not much of confidence on these relief packages. Relief packages were given of rupees 5,000 and small things just to manage their life, but these packages should really address the requirement to develop the working capital of the MSMEs. I believe that it should be. Some cases we don't need much. Even 5,000 rupees would do. They are depending on the size of the scale, they can start. Then application procedure for bank loans have to be simplified. Then MSME should be guided by the public, private organizations, chambers to obtain benefits. It is also important that gender sensitive policies are implemented, and a large number of MSMEs are run by women. They should have equal access to bank facilities, and this is what I mentioned even earlier. Right. And with this one, I would like to conclude my speech. And we got to live in the new normal situation. And I wish to thank all of you, the UNSDD, the ministry, both ministries, the secretaries, and thank you very much for listening to my speech. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Gunawardena, for your comprehensive presentation. Our next speaker is Dr. Premasiri Gamage. Dr. Premasiri Gamage is a training expert for MSME sector in Sri Lanka. He has a diversified experience on conducting trainings, business and entrepreneurship development, strategic planning, project management, personality development, and other applications. Dr. Gamage has completed his studies under psychological counseling and professional accounting, which would give an added value for his profession. He has more than 30 years of experience under similar capacity, covering all the districts by studying each aspects of local activities. He has successfully completed many consultancy assignments that related to ever-changing business environment in Sri Lanka. He is specialized in performing tasks of management, marketing, financial, and growth matters of MSMEs. Dr. Gamake holds several other positions, including Executive Director of Small Scale Enterprise Promotion Foundation, Chairman of Small Scale Enterprise Promotion for Joint Project with Government of Sri Lanka and Swiss Contact, and was the Chairman of Industrial Development Authority, Western Province. At present, he is the Standing Chairman of South Asia Entrepreneurs Development Faculty and Chairman co-founder of Business Development Sector. Yes, Dr. Gamage, it's over to you. You can start the presentation.
Thank you, Badraja. My topic is the way forward to MSME growth. Especially, my topic is the way forward. Actually, our Sri Lanka, when comparing with Sri Lanka and some other countries, in 1950. Per capita income was in our country $89 in 1950. You can see that Japan 90, $1 is the difference is $1, and the Singapore $30, and the South Korea we can see $60 in 1950. After 69 years, that means 2019, the gap between the 1950 and the 2019 gap is 69 years. After 69 years, in our country, per capita income is the $3,947. That is the 40, we can say 43 times when compared with the base year. And the average transformation ratio is the rate is the 63%. That is our transformation ratio. And the Japan, we can say the yearly transformation ratio is 3-figure growth rate, and the amount is the 45,000. Average, we can say 45,500. That is the per capita income. Likewise, Singapore over $100,000, and the South Korea we can say 44,740. Now we can see the gap between our countries and the other comparing countries. Yeah. Now MSME sector is the engine of growth. We are saying that our main focusing area is the MSME sector in our country. Micro in the sense below 1 to 9 employees, we can categorize as the micro level, and the 10 to 49 we can categorize as the small sector, and the 50 to 200 in the sense that is the service sector, and the manufacturing sector 50 to 300, that is the medium level sector. Now MSME sector is the engine of growth. Why we say like this? Because contribution of the GDP around 52% representing the SME sector. As Mr. Gunawardena explained, and the employment around 45% contributing to give the job opportunities our SME sector. Also over 70% we can say enterprises representing MSMEs. Now the time after 69 years, and also now we are facing post COVID. Now we are in the process of now the difficult situation. Now we are in not only our country, all over the world. Now we want to rethink how we can overcome those current issues. Not only the current issues, but also I explained you the per capita income in our country. Now we need to rethink by using the current situation. Now it needs more tuning. It needs more tuning, or we can say post-COVID tuning should be very specific, because majority of the enterprises, including large enterprises, now we can say almost all the enterprises in Sri Lanka facing very difficult situation. Not only the working capital situation, but also the sustainability of the business. Now all are facing this situation. Therefore, we want to inculcate entrepreneurial capability, because when we consider the micro level businesses, their entrepreneurial capacity and the enterprising approach is very less. Capacity of the decision making, they are in a very low level. We know that as the professionals, we know well. Therefore, we need to have the contingency plan to improve the current situation to the new normal level. Therefore, we are always talking about the mentoring and the counseling support we want to give to the MSMEs. Therefore, then we can think to prepare some sort of a dashboard concept. That means MSME should do their businesses looking at the dashboard. Without the dashboard, that's, we can say, blind journey will be slippery, because they don't know where they are going. Therefore, as the professionals of our country and the government as well as the INGOs, we want to rethink how we can help them to improve their businesses. Individually, they can't do that. Therefore, you know that in our country, in the position of 100, that is the doing business index in our country. The international position is the 100, and when comparing with the Malaysia, they are in the number 12, and the India in the number 63. Kenya, that they are Kenya, that the African country, they are in the 56 level. Now we are in the 100. Now, therefore, after the COVID-19 situation, we have to think very seriously how we can develop, how we can position our country in the world. Therefore, as the government and as the professionals, like we are discussing the current situation of the country. Therefore, all together, not only the government, not only the professionals in Sri Lanka, even the international loan agencies, we can discuss together, and we can develop our MSME sector. Then, you know, that when every year, then as Mr. Gunawardena mentioned, that our country GDP amount is the US dollars 84 billion US dollars. You know, when we can compare with the world #1 entrepreneur, he is the Jeff, owner of the Amazon.com. His net worth or the net wealth is the 112 billion. When we compare with the individual person's wealth with our country, we are in a critical situation. Therefore, we can think in a positive manner, and we can definitely achieve. We can improve our country international position by way of providing specific inputs to the MSME sector. Therefore, I think those are the main points I want to pay your special attention. Therefore, I think in future we want to work together with the government, and we can have the open forum discussions. Then we can prepare specific plans to develop our MSME sector. I think I want to discuss only few things with you due to the constraints of our time. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to discuss, especially Mr. Gunawardena, who invited me to give the presentations on MSME sector country situation. Thank you very much for everyone hearing me.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Gamage, for your informative elaboration. Our next speaker is Mr. Monty Ranatunga. Mr. Monty Ranatunga has been working as the Secretary to the Ministry of Small and Medium Business Enterprises since November 2019 today. Prior to this, he was the Director General Technical of the Ministry of Fisheries and Aquatic Resource Development since 2015 to 2017. Mr. Ranatunga has worked as an Additional Director General in the Department of Project Monitoring and Evaluation 2014 to 2015. He has further worked as the Director General Regional Development and Planning in the Ministry of Economic Development from 2004 to 2014. Mr. Ranatunga was also the National Director to Plan, Coordinate, Monitor and Evaluation of Mine Action Program since 2006 to 2014. He has further worked as the Project Coordinator of the Conflict Affected Region Emergency Project funded by ADB and Northeast Local Service Improvement Project funded by World Bank from 2009 to 2014. He has worked in the Southern Province Rural Economic Advancement Project funded by ADB, coordinating and monitoring the SMEs. He is a special grade officer in Sri Lankan Planning Service, having vast range of experience in project planning, monitoring, evaluation, and human resource development as well. Yes, Mr. Ranatunga, it's over to you. You can start the session.
Thank you very much for giving this opportunity for me to join this webinar. So I am to discuss about the policies and strategies to overcome the situation. Now, everybody knows the impact of the COVID, the global arena, as well as a little bit of the Sri Lankan situation as well. So the two speakers already did their presentation and covered many areas, so therefore I am not going to detail about something that they have discussed. So this is the definition of MSME. So this has been already discussed, so I am not going to detail this. So as we all know that the COVID-19 destroys many things in Sri Lanka. In particular, as the disrupted the political, social, economic, religious, financial structures and all over the world, and estimates so far indicate the values could cut the global economic growth by as much as 2% per month if current situation is continued. It is not possible to know or measure full impact until the effects of the pandemic reach a peak. This says the CRS report 2020, and has had a major impact on the lives of the people, all kinds, industries as well as the businesses. The crisis has already turned into an economic and labor market shock, affecting all businesses irrespective of their sizes, and also receiving phone calls repeatedly to this ministry asking for relief, solutions and advices about the problems faced by micro, small and medium enterprises. This is the situation at present here in Sri Lanka. So the COVID-19 beats SMEs. These are consequences, as Mr. Gunawardena explained. The supply chain has been broken down, and the exhausted working capital. Most of the SMEs, in particular micro and small scale enterprises, they are facing a lot the great difficulty with regard to the working capital. And the market linkages have been almost stuck now at present. And the layoffs, loss of livelihood opportunities are really bad situation here in Sri Lanka, and the psychological trauma, as mentioned Mr. Gunawardena earlier. So these are the consequences in very brief manner. So these are the policy intervention strategies here. Our government has identified we need to, as the previous presenter explained, that we need to create and enable environment for these MSMEs here in Sri Lanka, and also introduce appropriate technologies is really a must, and establish entrepreneurial culture here in Sri Lanka, and skill development is needed. And also we need to create very simple access to finance, as well as the facilitation raw material and the market is really needed. Finally, the promote research and development is also government concern with regard to this. And also government intervention in respect of COVID-19 impact followings. These have been already mentioned by Mr. Gunawardena. So already has appointed a task force to look into the economic development in the country by the Chief President, and also introduce finance relief packages. It was very well explained by Mr. Gunawardena. And also access this assessing impact. Actually now the various institutions, department have carried out some studies mainly focus on their subject areas. Mr. Gunawardena has also carried out one study and issued the report. So, but I feel the government, the ministry believe that there should be another study covering all the district here in Sri Lanka, what happens to the MSMEs. Now we have already completed the survey. Report is being prepared. Probably by next week we will be able to get this report out and get the authentication of the authorities. Then I will publish that document. That is the first step. And the second step, we need to have another detailed study to see the real situation in the all aspects of the MSMEs and the regional perspectives as well. So now we are ready to carry out that survey, and on top of that we will have to prepare a database and maybe long-term action plan. I will explain it maybe later on. And government establishes a separate ministry of small and medium business and enterprise development, that is basically mandatory to deal with these MSMEs. And also ready to establish business service centers is a very remarkable improvement in the MSME sectors. Now government has decided the cabinet of business service center create an NS at each district business. So then probably by end of now we are in this week we will be able to establish this Monaragala business center. A certain gravity of the problems. That's why I mentioned about the two studies, and identify priorities and planning. It is really neat, as very well explained by the previous speaker. So the planning is really important. We need to identify the priorities, and based on that we need to have plans. Then the linking supply chain, as Mr. Gunawardena mentioned, the linking supply chain is a must, because supply chain is now totally disturbed by this COVID impact. Then the increased purchasing power of citizens. The government has already made several efforts to increase the purchasing power of the citizen people by providing 500,000 rupees per month. Likewise, so then only after that only people could buy something, and then some production is boosting up at the some certain level. And or the looking possibilities for refinancing. Actually now the problems and the allegation made by the MSMEs is the financing system is not properly worked, but the banks, bank are also facing a lot of problems with regard to these liquidity problems. So then we will have to find the ways and means to refinance the banks. So then only we can, really implement the proper financing system, and identify and introduce new market linkages will also is need, because most of the markets are now closed. In particular, export markets are almost closed, and even in the local markets are not well functioning now. We need to look into that matter as well. These are the way forward. Conclude the study. As I mentioned earlier, we need to finish the study as early as possible and get the findings out, and prepare the plan after doing the series of consultants, as earlier previous speaker mentioned about that. We need a huge range of consultancies from various categories in order to prepare an action plan. Otherwise it could not be implemented properly. Then the identify priorities through the study, and then the create short-term, intermediate and long-term plan. Actually from these findings of this survey, we are planning to create a short-term plan. Then in order to have the intermediate and long-term plan, we want to carry out the detailed study, and we need to increase the capacity of the banks. I mean, the refinance program need to be introduced. So establish these 25 business service centers. Those are the way forward. Then the collaboration we sought from the internationals, maybe the donor agencies. Please share global experiences, success stories, because we need to have sort of ideas and strategies to develop our MSMEs here in Sri Lanka, and extend cooperative hands to review MSME in survey possible ways. Actually, we are going to conduct detailed survey, and I have already prepared the proposal, and it has been submitted to external resource department. So we need some financial support to carry out that survey. And the thirdly, the extend financial support through donors for the funding to create a so maybe we will be able to create a fund for these MSME development if we are if we will be able to find some financing support. We need to have the collaboration, sharing ideas, and maybe sometimes to have organized webinars and all that, because we need to keep on this discussion further and further. So having said that, let me to conclude my presentation. Thank you very much for organizing this webinar, in particular, especially to Mr. Gunawardena and the other speakers and the organizers. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Ramatunga, for your valuable inputs for this session. Now we can move on to our discussion round. Participants also can forward their questions if they have any questions for our panel. Yes, Mr. Deepal, please go ahead
Yes.
if you have any questions regarding this conversation.
Well, I'm Deepal Nelson, representing the National Chamber of Commerce in Sri Lanka. I'm the deputy president, right? I was just listening to all your strategies and way forward plans. It's very interesting. But I think I would like to just give a suggestion. Like we also like to, as a national chamber, to join with you to develop these MSMEs, because we also have a big problem every day. Everybody is coming and asking what you are doing. The chamber is not doing anything. The ministry is not doing. The country is not doing. The bankers are not doing everything. So would like to propose you, if you can have any collaboration or partnership with your ministry as a private partnership or something like that to develop. We are not looking for any financial gains or anything like that. As a responsible national chamber, we would like to develop a partnership or collaboration with you. At this moment, we are talking about collaborations and having the strengths or sharing strengths or whatever it is with the chamber to develop the MSMEs, please.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson.
Can I very much the national chamber? Actually, I have already discussed. I had several meetings with the Sri Lanka Chamber of Commerce and some other chambers as well, but that is not enough. So once this report is coming out, so definitely I will organize a series of meetings with all the chambers and the other relevant stakeholders and have a pragmatic plan. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Monty. Yes, Mr. Gunawardena, we have a question for you.
Yeah.
Yes, since Dr. Premasiri has elaborated regarding the transformation of MSMEs in Sri Lanka. So what are the actions that government can take to speed up these transformations?
Yeah, one thing is I think we have to create an enabling environment for the micro level enterprises.
Yes.
That is one of the major things, that because a lot of restrictions are there to get licenses, to get approval and various things. Other than that, I think Dr. Gamage will be able to answer.
Actually, other thing is, yes, other thing is the more than 60% of the micro level enterprises, they have not registered.
Yeah,
that is another crucial point. If we can have a proper way of helping them to register their businesses, then we can get them into the formal sector from the informal sector.
Yeah,
that is also an issue, I think.
Yeah, in the country, I think more than 40% of the enterprises are not registered.
Yes. Yeah.
And people have a fear of getting registered. One is the income tax. We call it income. Let me use the local word, income tax phobia.
Yeah.
They feel that they will be taxed. And I think the income tax department should come and speak to these people and tell them that they will not be taxed for getting registered. These are small people, they don't come under even tax limitations. And this informal sector has to be converted to the formal and get them. That is one thing that we would like to do, and that we have been, I think the ministry should promote that.
Yes.
To make them formal. That is one way.
Otherwise, they can't get any assistance or the subsidies from the government.
Yeah.
Moderator, can I ask a question? I am Hasita Vijayasundara and a suggestion and a question.
Yes, Hasita, you can go ahead.
Okay. So I think thank you very much, Mr. Gamage and Mr. Gunawardena for excellent presentation, and Mr. Monty for providing us the information on the government side. I'm Hasita Vijayasundara. I'm a senior economist by profession. I've been attached to GIZ and been involved with the SME development work also a long period of time. So one point that I could, with my experience, that I could like to highlight as a point is when the question of this transformation, I think it was highlighted in Mr. Gamage's and Mr. Kumadena's presentation, this technology. So the situation as such with post-COVID, now there's a demand for digitalization and use of technology, particularly for SMEs, and then, you know, to prepare themselves for the new normal. As we can see, this whole pandemic would remain at least for next 6 months or maybe a year or even more. So two things what I could suggest is that because we have a very strong technology strong institutes in Sri Lanka, but unfortunately their effectiveness of providing technology to SMEs still I don't think we have optimized. For example, IDB, ITI, National Engineering Research Center, SLSI and all of this. So Mr. Monty, if we can have some sort of a program to revamp these institutions and motivate these institutions to reach to the region, reach to the SMEs in providing this small technology. I don't say the very big sophisticated technology. I think this transformation, this is the time that we can do also, because now world is also talking about SME, this technology, and the SME is also looking, and this since this whole momentum is there. And on the other hand, what they have heard is also having a sort of a group of again SMEs, especially this you know, technology based, IT based SMEs who are basically, you know, coming up with fresh graduates or maybe young entrepreneurs who are providing these IT based solutions to Sri Lankan companies. Of course, some are providing services to export, you know, for the foreign companies. So maybe linking these Sri Lankan SMEs to these Sri Lankan owned IT based SMEs again would be a very good proposition, because as Mr. Gamage said, we need new models now, for example, like for inventory control, or maybe having this dashboard, or maybe to manage their supplies. That sort of even small things, if we can link these Sri Lankan based IT companies through DESA, because they have this lease program, to the SMEs in sustainable manner, I think that also would be a very good initiative. And again, this hand-holding mentoring would be very important in future, because just one-off training, one-off business plan training, one-off accountancy and bookkeeping training, I don't think would serve much of this situation. So this is basically one of my suggestion and comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm Chandra Vitanaki from the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce. Can I just say something?
Yes.
Yes, sure, Mr. Chandra. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much for organizing this event and also inviting me to participate. You know, you mentioned a lot of things. I mean, all three speakers presented a lot of things. You know, at this moment, as you know, I also would like to support what Mr. Vijay Sundara said a little while ago. So, at the chamber, Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, we have set up. I mean, it was there earlier as well, but you know, with the COVID, we make it more integrated in a focal point. So we have a you know, separate unit called Center for SMEs. So any SME who needs some support can, you know, reach to us. At the same time, whatever the government agencies participating in this you know, webinar, if you you know, come across any SMEs who need some assistance, you know, please ask them to contact us. You know, you can get our details from the website, and even on Facebook. Here I don't you know, try to say we have solution for each and every problem, but you know, at this moment you know, a lot of people, you know, this is a very, you know, unprecedented situation, not only in Sri Lanka, all over the world. So therefore there are no quick fixes in this situation. At the same time, SMEs, because they are desperate, I mean, even some of the presenters highlighted, they are, you know, waiting for some direct assistance, grants, and you know, low cost loans and things like that. But you know, but there is a limit to, you know, offering that kind of assistance. Government has done their best, and I also heard today they are going to, you know, increase this you know, funds allocated for refinancing facilities. So that is good, but the solution lies not only, you know, not just giving handouts and giving, you know, grants and things, we have to, take this opportunity to help SMEs to, stand on their feet, basically strengthen their, capacity. At the same time, SMEs were somewhat reluctant to, embrace new technology, looking at, things differently. So, but during this, COVID lockdown and curfew, even small timers who used, technology in some way, it may be WhatsApp, it may be Facebook, it may be, just, sending SMS messages, even bakeries and things, small time people operated using technology and, made some business during that. So those are the things we have to, help SMEs. Those are the things we can, guide them. Again, I would like to say we don't have, quick fixes and, 100% solution, but we can, help them in a professional manner, giving them management support, giving them business development services. So we are ready to do that. At the same time, I would like to say here, professional organizations have linked with us. The CIMA has a separate, set of experts who are willing to offer these services. Maybe, part of it, initially counseling and things, advice free of charge, but later if there is a need for more professional support, they may, charge for some, their long-term services. Even CMA, Certified Management Accountants, Chairman Professor whatever has set up a committee group of experts. So we are working closely with them as well. So therefore, please be free to, direct any SMEs who need assistance. We will try our best to help them. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chandra.
Thank you, Mr. For the other organizations, for UN and other organizations who have some suggestion, you can go ahead and.
This is business, innovation, research and development. Thank you very much for participating in your meeting today. I'm very much excited to give my suggestion. Coming from a developed country like France, I have to say we have a different approach of solving the issue of COVID-19. My viewpoint is the real issue was about forecasting the COVID-19. Nobody could forecast COVID-19. So we have now to find a way to recover from the COVID-19. So my suggestion is maybe to build on a fund. That's what we did in France. We build on a fund because today, as you say, all is about money, about finance. No country can solve a problem from its own government. So we need those finance, we need those banks to borrow money. And also market is not performing enough. Market is not efficient. So we need also the governments. Governments have to be with the SMEs, with the businesses. My third point is I found that you have lots of small businesses, but not enough multinationals, because businesses are very good for employment, but not for taxes. So we need those multinationals, which are not very strong for employment, but very good for growth, for profit, and for taxes. Thank you.
Excuse me. This is Clark from UN.
Yes.
Yes, can I speak?
Yes, Clark, go ahead. Please go ahead.
Sure. First of all, I would like to transfer the thanks of Ms. Sarah Stragons. Unfortunately, she is not able to connect with the audio, but she is following very closely with this webinar, and she asked me to send her greetings and thanks to the organizers and also to both the Ministry of Industries and Supply Chain and also the Ministry of MSEs, and also certainly to our dear colleague Mr. Gunawardena for your hard work and for organizing this excellent webinar. And also certainly we look forward to continue our successful partnership with government departments and also with our expert colleagues. Maybe one quick comment from our side is actually we hear this webinar really covers important points related to MSE formalization, technology, innovation, financing facilities and solutions, as well as the capacity and the demand of MSEs in the new market structure after the COVID pandemic. One point we would like to highlight perhaps is the formalization of MNCs. As Mr. Gunawardena and also Dr. Gamach has mentioned, about 60% of MNCs in Sri Lanka remain informal and not registered their business. I think it's highly important to improve the enabling policy environment that would support simplified MNC registration. Perhaps the Business Service Center, as has been pointed out by Secretary Ranatuga, that is going to be established across the country could provide a good entry points, or like a one-stop shop, providing simplified registration solutions as well as hand-on business development services. And maybe the hand-on business development services could become a motivation for the MNCs to register and formalize themselves, because I think it's highly important that all of us need to make MNC entrepreneurs aware that business formalization is not only related with income tax, but also with government support, with hand-on trainings, with lots of opportunities in terms of market and rebuild the supply chain after the COVID-19. So, so tentatively, if I may, on behalf, we would also like to thank again for all the participants, and we look forward to successful partnership with you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Clark, for your inputs and your suggestion. Since we have very limited time frame, I appreciate that you, if there's any question, please put forward in a very brief manner. This is the final question of this session, and I think Mr. Monty also can contribute for this question.
Yeah.
What are the relief packages that government plan to give for the exporters?
Yeah, exporters, of course, now the so various programs are planning, but to be introduced. Maybe very recently they will be introduced the the very good package for them to make easy of these importation. In particular, export market. Yeah. Now the imports, of course, we are limiting now. The 111 items have been already, stopped the importation. But for these specific SMEs, they need some raw material that are not available in the country. So then government is thinking to have sort of program for them to provide those raw material through the process.
Yeah. Shall I add something to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Okay. Then, Dr. Right.
Actually, yeah. Actually, in Sri Lanka, there are 3,000 SMEs. They are registered as the exporters, but their contribution is less than 5% of the Sri Lankan export value. And the others are the corporate level organizations. They are having only the 235, but the SMEs are here 3,000. If we can do something to develop their capacities, definitely we can develop our export contribution from the SMEs. That is my comment.
So that is very good suggestion. Actually, we don't know. We want to have the deep study on that. But we don't know whether they are
Yes.
exporting the raw material. So no point of the exporting raw material. We need to export finished good. So in order to do that, we need to have sort of deep study or the discussions with them. So we will looking for that.
Can I make a small comment?
Thank you very much.
Yes, Hasita. Yes, Mr. Hasita. You can go ahead. Yes.
Yeah, since we are running short of time, I think Mr. Monty, one of the very important things that Sri Lanka, as Mr. Dr. Gamage also said, is to increase the competitiveness of SMEs in exporting. Because all the statistics shows of Sri Lanka that the SME contribution in exports is far below than any of the regional or the transitional economy, because the Sri Lanka, when it comes to exports, that means SMEs are virtually not exporting. So in the sense, very few exports. So I mean, with my involvement in the sector, one of the very important things is, as you correctly said, that SME do not have adequate technology for value addition. So that is why even they are basically, exporting the raw material. Now we have been, for example, cinnamon, we are exporting cinnamon for last 300 years as raw bulk cinnamon. And very, very few SMEs still do a little bit of value addition, like cinnamon legends and all other. So tea also the same thing. So what I would suggest is to the government is rather, giving any handout or any that sort of a support, creating this environment much more vibrant, where this technology service providers would provide their services to SME, and then we can develop a mechanism where SMEs also can easily get this technology. For example, like, because for exports you need proper packaging, you need proper labeling, you need proper sort of a processing, that sort of a things. I mean, those are not very big or very sophisticated technology. So I think government can involve in that area. That would be really good. And second one would be finding out the markets. So EDB can do a lot of the job there to find out, maybe not the large market, but niche market, maybe in Scandinavian countries or maybe European countries and all of it. I think if we can do these two as government, and then if you can route donors, assistance also in these two areas, that would be really good to improve the competitiveness of SMEs, especially production. Services, it's again another story which we have to talk with the technology and IT-based platforms. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Actually, our export value, average export value is the 12 billion per year, and the import value is the 21 billion per year. You can see the gap of the trade gap is the negative. Actually, Secretary, if you can pay special attention, we also can contribute our knowledge and the skills. Definitely, we can convert, we can develop our export value within the shorter period of time. If we can do something, collaborating with GIZ, yes, and with the chambers.
Yeah, thank you very much. So let me to organize sort of discussion with you all with regard to that, and have sort of strategy to develop that. So as soon as possible, I will organize that discussions with you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now we have come to the end of this session. In order to do the closing remarks, I cordially invite Mr. J. Ranjit. Mr. Ranjit is the Secretary to the Ministry of Industry and Supply Chain Management, a Special Gate Officer of the Sri Lankan Administrative Service. Prior to this position, he has held the positions of Secretary, Ministry of Plantation Industry, Director General, Department of Technical Education and Training, Ministry of Youth Affairs and Skills Development, Additional Secretary, Ministry of Defense, Urban Development, and many senior positions during his career in the Administrative Service of Sri Lanka. He holds a Bachelor of Law degree, Open University, Sri Lanka, Master of Public Policy and Management, Mount Eliza Business School, Monash University, Australia, Postgraduate Diploma in Provincial Administration, Postgraduate Institute of Management, University of Sri Jayawardena, Bachelor of Arts degree in Economics with second class, University of Sri Jayawardena, Sri Lanka. Yes, Mr. Ranjit, you can go in with the opening remarks.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Bhadraja. I think we had a very fruitful discussion today. On behalf of the two ministries, I wish to thank the Division of Sustainable Development Goals, Department of Economic and Social Affairs of United Nations for joining together to discuss the impact of COVID-19 on MSMEs in Sri Lanka. The objective is to share our experience with other countries especially with the developing countries, and also to learn good practices adopted by them. The COVID-19 virus threat has affected the entire world, and the MSMEs are the most vulnerable to such threats, in my opinion. The speakers have given you an overview of the socio-economic status of the country, analyzed the effect of the threat to subsectors of SMEs, the government relief packages, and the critical analysis of the present situation and recommendations. Dr. Premasiri has covered the way forward for the revival of the SMEs. Mr. Monty Ranatunga, the Secretary to the Ministry of Small and Medium Business and Enterprise Development, has clearly given the government strategies to overcome the situation and the strategies to move forward. In that context, I wish to add something during this closing session. Government's first priority was to prevent COVID-19 spreading, and therefore the airport was closed and curfew imposed. People were confined to homes. At the same time, steps were taken to continue economic activities with limited staff and following health precautions. As a result, less number of deaths and limited affected patients were reported. Government already implemented financial support schemes, especially focused on MSMEs. This matter was discussed in detail by Mr. Gunawardena in his presentation. Presidential Task Force for providing essential services was established initially during the lockdown period to ensure to provide basic needs of people. Later, it was converted into the Presidential Task Force for Economic Revival and Poverty Alleviation as post-COVID long-term strategy. Also, we observed that there are some positive impacts of COVID-19. There are many innovations came out during this period, especially in health and pharmaceutical sector. This is good opportunity for SME sector. Also, entrepreneurs compelled to promote local industry and productions rather than depend on imported materials. Meanwhile, this opportunity can be used to promote export sector too. For example, tea sector. They are getting good price and trend is increase in demand. Finally, I strongly believe that Sri Lanka can recover the negative impacts of COVID-19 within certain time period, and we can go for a new beginning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ranjit.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ranjit.
Thank you.
Now we will winding up today's session. I would like to thank all the panel members, Mr. Padmasiri Gunawardena, Dr. Premasiri Gamage, Mr. Monty Ranatunga, and Mr. J. Ranjit. And also my special thanks goes to the organizers of this session and all the participants who have invested their valuable time for this session. Thank you very much.